In this video, we're going to take a look at a very quick logic games strategy or actual drill that you can use to improve your score on logic games. Now, most often when looking at logic game strategies, we're talking about ways of diagramming your logic games or actually doing the questions and the technique you use for different questions and different types of logic games. In this video, we're not going to cover that. What we're going to do is give you a drill that you can use once you've got the basics of the logic games down. And this drill will really help you see some improvements in logic games. Now, typically when people are practicing logic games, they're going to go and get a actual LSAT exam and do the logic game section or do the whole exam, and then just go back and mark it and do a quick review and move on to the next exam. You're not going to see as big of an improvement in your logic games or really on the whole LSAT by doing things this way. So this drill is going to give you a technique to review your logic games and see larger improvements or faster improvements in the logic games section. So to start off with, you're going to need a copy of an actual LSAT exam. If you don't have one, you can pick one up at alphascore.com. If you go into the free trial, you can check the exam section and there's an exam for you to use there. Now from that, you want to take your logic games section and make a few copies of it. 4 should be enough to get started. So you've got at least 4 copies of your logic games section. Take one of those copies and do it in actual timed conditions. So this is going to be 35 minutes on the clock. You want to go through and do as many questions as you can in the 35 minutes. If at the end of the 35 minutes you haven't completed the entire section, make a line on your answer sheet. This is your 35-minute mark. That's your actual score on the section that you're going to use for reference later when you're checking to see your improvement. Then continue doing the questions. So you've made your line at 35 minutes, keep doing the questions just to give yourself a chance to practice them, still try and do them quickly. And then you can record your score both at the 35-minute mark and for all of the questions. Now, for those of you tracking your score, the one at the 35-minute mark is really all that counts. We're only going beyond that just so you have a chance to try all of the questions. So you've gone through, you've done a section in 35 minutes. Now you need to go through and mark it, but don't mark what the correct answers are. Just put a little X next to the questions that you get wrong. And then you want to go back and you want to review all of your games. If you got even a single question wrong on one of your games, you want to start with the diagram. Go through your diagram in detail. Make sure that it is perfectly represented, that you've brought in all the information that you need, and that you have all your rules represented properly. If you're not sure how to set up your diagrams, you're not sure how to set up a diagram for this game, you have to stop here and correct that mistake. You have to figure out how to set up this proper diagram. Now, if you need help with that, you can find that at alphascore.com. If you're set with your diagram and you're happy with it and it's working, then go on to the questions that you got wrong and really go through each of the answer choices. Go through the process, take your time. You're not on the clock at this point. So you're going through and you're taking your time and figure out why the wrong answers are incorrect for all of the wrong answers and why the correct answer is right. And get it to the point where you could explain this to someone else. If you have a little brother, little sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, even mom, this is the perfect opportunity for you to explain to them why certain aspects of, why your answer choices that are incorrect and why the correct answers are correct. So you're really familiar now with all of the questions that you got wrong and you figured out why you got them wrong and how you're going to get to the correct answer. Now is the fun time. You can take a break. Go watch half an hour of TV, read a book, get outside. And when you're done with your break, you're going to come back and grab one of those clean copies of this same section of the LSAT. So you're doing the same games over again. You've got a clean copy. So there's no marks, no ticks, no X's, nothing on this. You're going to do it all over again. Now, when you're doing it over again, you're doing it under time. So you've got 35 minutes on the clock. And when you come across a question or a game and you know exactly what the answer is, you say, oh yeah, okay, I know that was D. I remember I checked into that, I reviewed it. Don't just mark down D. Go through the motions, draw the diagrams for the game and for each of the questions, and go through and actually figure out what the correct answer is. So you're forcing yourself to go through that process and find that correct answer the proper way. So go through and do this in 35 minutes. And again, go back and mark it. Don't mark down the correct answers, just mark down the ones that you got wrong and put a little X next to them. Now, if you score perfect this time, that's great, you're done. You can do a quick review of it if you want and move on to the next game section and do them that way. Most likely though, even though you've already taken the time to go through a detailed review of this game section, you're not going to find that you're going to score perfectly on your second try. So you want to go through again and repeat the process. Everything that you got wrong, you need to start with your diagram. Do a solid review of your diagram. Make sure it's really good. Then go to the question and make sure you understand why all of the incorrect answers are incorrect and why all of the correct answers are correct. And once you've done that, you can take another quick break, come back, find another clean copy of this same logic game section, and do it again under timed conditions. And you're going to repeat this process until you're scoring perfect or very close to perfect on this game section. And what this is doing is it's forcing you to be able to go through a full game section in the time constraints of 35 minutes and answer everything correctly. Now, obviously, when you move on to the next test, the games are going to be different, things are going to change, your score is going to come back down from perfect. But you now know how to do these 4 games perfectly, and the games don't change that much. So the next time you encounter one of these similar style of games, it may not be about clowns jumping out of a car, it may now be about selecting golf clubs to play a round of golf, but the general structure of the game is going to be the same or very similar. So now when you encounter very similar games, you're going to be on the ball and know exactly what to do because you've really reviewed this game to the point where you've gotten perfect on it. And that's a lot better than just doing game section after game section and seeing new ones each time and always scoring the same. So if you find yourself stuck on the game section, you can improve that score. Try this Logic Games drill technique and you may see your score improve significantly.